So I'm going to go through the steps of making this very simple recipe for Dutch pancakes or pannenkoeken. So there's no eggs involved in this recipe. You can use eggs, but we're going to do a no egg recipe this time. So it's 1 cup or 150 grams of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 tablespoons of sunflower oil or an oil that has very little flavor or is neutral, 1.5 cups of milk, and 1 packet of vanilla sugar. In place of that, you could use vanilla and sugar, so 1 teaspoon of each. But if you can get your hands on a packet of vanilla sugar, that would be ideal. So you want to start by heating up a large frying pan or a cast iron skillet or something similar. And we'll get our dry ingredients together. So our 1 cup of flour we're going to sift. Make sure there's no lumps. If you want to make more pancakes, just double the recipe. But this makes about 4 large pannenkoeken, about 3 or 4 at least. And you can make them whatever size you want, but if you want them really large, this makes about 4 of them. Okay, so once you've sifted your flour, you're going to add your 1 teaspoon of baking powder and your 1 packet of vanilla sugar. This adds a nice flavor. Again, you can use vanilla and sugar in place of this. Give that a good mix. The oil acts as a binding agent in place of the egg. So we have 2 tablespoons of the oil and the milk. And we're going to use a dough whisk to incorporate those 2 ingredients together. And this takes roughly half a minute to a minute. You want to make sure it's a nice thin batter. And you do want a nice thin batter because you want it to be fluid in the pan and be able to move around, so you get a nice, fairly thin pancake. So let's make sure there's no lumps. This does not have to sit for a while and rise. It's not like a yeast dough or yeast batter. Again, this is a very quick recipe, does not take very long. You could use a whisk even, that's how thin this is. It's not really that thick. Now sometimes people will add slices of cheese or fruit or make it savory with other ingredients. I'm just making it plain this time. You could even use buttermilk in place of milk, but I'm keeping it really simple. Okay, so my cast iron skillet is at medium-high heat, and I'm just going to add some butter and spread it around. This skillet is pretty much non-stick, but I do add a little bit of butter just to make sure it does not stick, and it does add a little bit of flavor. Okay, so we'll just spread that out. Again, this is medium-high heat. It is smoking a little bit, but I do have the fan on, and we'll get our batter in there. So you can either scoop it or just pour it in. This has a spout on the bowl, so I just kind of pour it in and rotate the bowl as I go. Okay, and the next step is to be careful with this because it's pretty hot. At least the cast iron is, but lift it up and just rotate it. So you're going to spread out your pancake to get it thinner. Now the cast iron skillet is a little bit harder to handle. It's a little bit heavy, but I like that it has a lot of space and it's nice and flat. But you can certainly use a large frying pan. It'd probably be a lot easier with just the one handle and just easier to work with, but I like how big this surface is. So what you're looking for here is the shininess to go away. So you can see the steam rising. That's pretty much the water content from the liquid ingredients. So once that starts to look dull, then it's pretty much time to flip. So I'm not going to tell you, after 2 minutes or anything. You just have to look for that sheen to go away. And there you can see it's starting to look more and more dull. Now this is a non-egg recipe, so it doesn't bind as well as if you did have eggs. So when you're bringing your spatula around with this recipe, it is a little bit more fragile, and I did have a few tears here and there, but no big deal. So again, once you see it dull and has no shininess on top, you could always just lift it up and see how it is underneath, but I just flip it here and everything seems to be okay. So each one really only takes less than 5 minutes. Because they're so thin, they cook quickly. But again, you don't want your heat too high because it'll cook too fast. As soon as you pour your batter on, it'll be hard to spread out. So I did go around here, and it seemed to cook faster on one side. That's why some of them tore here on the. You can see it tears again on the one side. So I think maybe my my cast iron wasn't completely evenly hot. But most of them turned out fine. There's a few tears here and there, no biggie. And I did end up making 2 batches, which made about 8 large Pannenkoeken. So the recipe that I posted there was for just 1 batch, which is about, again, 4 large or maybe 6 medium size. So just double the ingredients. You don't necessarily have to double the packet of vanilla sugar, but the rest of the ingredients just double that if you want to make a double batch. Again, just slowly rotate your pan to spread out and make it a little bit bigger and thinner. And this happens to be an induction cooktop, so it takes a little bit of getting used to. Let your cast iron heat up for quite some time to get nice and even heat. But they all turned out great. Again, you're looking for that shininess to go away before you flip them. And there you go, there's a couple that are done. You can either roll them up like this, add a bit of toppings, whatever. This is cinnamon sugar, a bit of maple syrup, or you can just eat them flat without rolling them up, whichever way you choose. But I encourage you to give them a try. A nice treat on Pancake Tuesday or Shrove Tuesday. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned for more videos. Please subscribe, and bye for now.